We welcome you into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hope everybody had a great Independence Day weekend. Today on the show, Braves at the halfway point. Where are they? How successful has the Hawks offseason been? And what about these rumors about Jacob deGrom to the Braves? Crazy talk, isn't it? It's all next on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hope everybody had a great, nice, long holiday weekend. We ask you to head over to youtube.com, subscribe to our channel there, put us in the search browser, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Over 2,200 folks now that have subscribed, so we thank you so greatly for being a part of that community. And, of course, we are free and available to download on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Give us a 5-star review. And, of course, give me a follow on my personal Twitter page. That would be at JMCH316. Well, after a victory last night over the St. Louis Cardinals, the Braves are officially halfway through. Yes, hard to believe, but we are halfway through the baseball season this year. Braves right now sit at 47-34, 3.5 games back. So what are the Braves here at the halfway point? You know, it's interesting. Record-wise, I think we would all agree that this is pretty much where we thought the Braves would be, right? The journey to get there is what has been fascinating at times, frustrating at times, aggravating at times, right? You know, early part of the year, really couldn't get any sledding, couldn't get their feet underneath them. Really were having trouble beating some of the bad teams in Major League Baseball, right? I mean, that was one of the things that basically have kept them out of first place all season long. But then obviously they caught fires. We got into the season. They had the 11-game winning streak, and now have really closed the gap. And as the schedules have started to even out a little bit, Braves have played a lot of difficult teams. Remember, Braves are done with the Dodgers. Braves have played the Dodgers, their max amount of games. They've also played the Padres and everybody else. They've made their West Coast road trip and all that. So the Braves have knocked all that kind of stuff out. So second half of the year, this will be a lot heavier focused on within the division, right? Braves get done with the St. Louis Cardinals. They're about to embark on a big, they got 7 of the next 10 games will be against the Washington Nationals with 3 against the Mets. So I think it's 15 games against the Mets that they still have. So we got a long way to go within the division, and that's what's really going to decide this. But I think the Braves are right where we expected them to be. It's just more of how they've got here. Some of the bright spots certainly has been their younger guys, right? Kyle Wright has been outstanding. Had it not been for the rain delay last night, he'd have probably gotten the victory. Not probably. He would have gotten the victory. Braves were up 6-1 when all the rains came and everything, right? I mean, so he would have gotten the victory last night. That would have gotten him to 10 wins in the first half of the season. Obviously, Michael Harris has been one of the truly great stories, not just for the Braves, but in Major League Baseball. Here's a guy that's their number one prospect, jumped over AAA, came right from AA Mississippi up to the big club. He's been fantastic, hitting over 300, playing outstanding defense. He's got 4 stolen bases. He's been everything you could ask out of a top prospect. Spencer Strider has been a guy who's been both fantastic in his relief role and when he's gotten a chance to start now. And to be honest with you, he's probably their number 4 starter right now, given some of the struggles that Ian Anderson has had. The bullpen has been sort of a mixed bag. I mean, Jansen's been pretty good, but he has had some hiccups. Will Smith at times, reminds you that he's one of the more frustrating, set up to closer guys in all of Major League Baseball. But A.J. Minter has been fantastic. In fact, he's been almost all-star caliber with how good he has been. Max Fried has been outstanding. As Dave Roberts said, he might be the best left-hander in baseball right now. I mean, given the fact that Kershaw's a little bit older, Blake Snell has been awful this year for the Padres. Maybe Fried is the best left-hander in baseball, but he's been outstanding. Him and Kyle Wright both are going to be all-stars. I don't think there's much doubt about all of that. Charlie Morton has bounced back, so it looks like for the second half of the season, you expect him to get some things rolling. He's put together multiples of good start here, and honestly, pitching into the 7th inning. Probably should have been left in longer on Saturday, but that's another discussion for another day out of all of it. So Morton has got some things figured out. Now, whether or not we can count on Mike Soroka to be back in the second half of the season, I don't know. If he comes back and does anything, that's a bonus. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to wait around and hope and pray that Mike Soroka comes back. and is the pitcher that he was a couple of years ago. You just want to get him back into it. I mean, he's got 2 years of season-ending injuries. I don't know if he's ever going to get back to what he was a few years ago, but that could only be a bonus. Now, from a lineup perspective, to see Ronald Acuna come back in this lineup, and I know he's had his injuries along with it, that weren't related to the knee, but he's still been the linchpin of what this team wants to do offensively, right? As Reggie Jackson was famously called, he's the straw that stirs the drink. That's what Ronald Acuna is to this lineup. And if you look, even in only 47 games, 32 runs scored, 7 homers, and a 386 on base, plus 16 stolen bases to lead the team. He's been everything you could ask for. Dansby, Dansby's having a career year. In fact, and I'm not hyperbole here, Dansby Swanson in the modern, let's say the 20th century, might be on pace for the best year ever for a Brave shortstop. He's pushing toward 30 homers. He's on pace to be near 100 runs, 100 RBI. He literally is having maybe the best season ever for a Brave shortstop. Now, coincidentally, it is in his walk year, right, where he's going to be an unrestricted free agent come the end of the year. We've kind of discussed that about what Dansby may be turning himself into as far as the $20 million shortstop goes. As far as the rest of the lineup goes, their catcher position has been outstanding. If you'd have told me that they would have gotten 20 homers and 55 RBI out of the catcher position before the All-Star break, I'd have told you you're crazy. But d'Arnaud's had a terrific year, 11 homers, 36 RBI. Contreras has been one of the other really bright spots, 9 homers, 19 RBI. Catcher has been a real strength for this team. Now, it's not all necessarily sunshine and roses, because there's a reason why the Braves are in second place, and it took them a while to get. Matt Olson has had a very interesting season. Let's put it that way. 31 doubles. That's a Braves record before the All-Star break. But he's only scored 33 runs. He's got 12 homers and only 45 RBI. So we're talking about 66 runs scored. If I'd have told you at the beginning of the season, Matt Olson would have 66 runs scored, 24 homers and 90 RBI, would you have taken that? Would that have been coming off of a 3,900 season that Matt Olson had? Probably not. We've talked about last week the fact that his home run stroke is starting to get there a little bit, but they need Olson, especially when we get into these games against the Mets. And look, Olson did a lot yesterday to kind of help seal that game with a couple of RBI early in that game, but they need Olson to be a big-time run producer. They need Matt Olson to have a much bigger, and miss me with the whole doubles conversation. The goal is not to chase down Earl Webb for the record. The goal is to be a 40-homer, 100 RBI guy. That's what you pay $120 million to a guy for, right? Now, Riley has been a monster in the middle of the order, 20 homers. You'd like to see some more production out of him. 48 RBI, 44 runs scored. You'd like to see him get back into that 100-plus RBI range. As far as Duvall and Ozuna goes, look, Ozuna has certainly created a lot of power, but he's another guy. 227 batting average, 418 slugging, only a 698 OPS. He's on pace for 32 homers, but he's on pace for 78 runs scored and 68 RBI. That's a pretty low total for a guy to hit 30 homers or drive in under 70 runs. They need him, Duvall, Olson, Riley to amp up their production. And hopefully Swanson keeps this up. Ronnie is full-time in the second half of the year, which he wasn't in the first half of the year. So hopefully we're past all of the injuries with Ronnie, and he's a full-time second half player to where he'll be at the top of the order. He'll get on base a lot, and he's going to create a lot of chances and opportunity for Riley, for Olson, for Ozuna, for d'Arnaud, for Contreras, for all of those guys. So I would tell you right now that the Braves record-wise are right where we thought they would be. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. And really this season, in the second half especially, is going to be defined by what do either the Braves or the Mets, when they meet up head-to-head, who comes out on top of all that? Who comes out on all of that? Because basically they've played even. I understand a 3.5-game lead, but they've played even through the first half of the year. And the fact that the Braves are done with the Dodgers and they've made their West Coast trip, and the Mets have made their West Coast trip, as well. Both teams have gotten some of those things back behind them and out of the way. Now it's a chance to really, honestly, get in front of the Marlins and the Phillies and the Nats, and then the Braves and Mets, obviously, head-to-head. So record, or I should say schedule-wise, things work out pretty well. Now, let me tell you about my friends over at rockauto.com. Listen, I know a lot of you like to work on your own car. You've got your own parts that you want to try to buy. If you know you go to those big box stores, you know that you're going to pay probably what, 30, 50, maybe even 100% more than you would than a dealer or a licensed mechanic or what have you would do. rockauto.com is your source for all of your auto parts needs. Why overspend? Why pay the big box prices when you can get all the parts that you need? It's a family business. They've been in business for over 20 years, reliably low prices. Why overpay for the parts that you need? You need a water pump, you need brakes, you need this, you need that. They've got everything that you need. It's a very easy to navigate website. rockauto.com is the place to go when you need your auto parts. We've got a special going on right now. Go to rockauto.com right now. Find the available parts that you need for your car, for your truck, whatever you got going on. And I want you to put Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us box. Put Locked On in the How You Heard About Us box, LOCKEDON, and that way they know that we sent you over there. Low prices, great selection, all the parts you're ever going to need. It's rockauto.com. All right, when we get back, how have the Hawks done this offseason? We'll talk about that next. It is Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.